Look out, there's rats about, and it's time for the Upbeat Muskrats on SWA 999, Sydney's West.
That's right, it is time for the Upbeat Muskrats here on SWA 999. I'm your host, Harry Green, and this week I do have a special guest who we'll talk more about in a moment, and that's today's show, 3 minutes past 6. Soft Cell, Tainted Love, here on the Upbeat Muskrats, 6 minutes past 6:66 on SWA 999, Sydney's West. And I mentioned I've got a guest here today, and basically a bit of backstory behind how this all happened. The first time I've had a guest on my show here, but how this all came about is a few weeks ago I saw a video on social media that they posted on a topic they seemed to know a fair bit about. So I thought, you know what, that'd be some good radio content for my radio show, and it would take some of the work of coming up with content constantly away from me. So, hello.
Hello.
So do you want to tell us a bit about what that video was and basically why you're here today and what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, so that video was basically talking about sharks and why they are not as dangerous as people may think, and the reasons kind of behind sharks and their behaviour.
Great. So we'll get started in that in just a moment as well. But to start with, we're going to have one more song in between, which is one you picked for us. The Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind. What's so good about Friday?
It's the end of the week.
Of course. The day before the weekend. Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind. 7 minutes past 6. SWA 999, Sydney's West. The Easy Beats, Friday on My Mind. And today is not Friday, it's Wednesday. So Wednesday should be on your mind because that's the day that we have the Upbeat Muskrats on SWA 999. But once again, I do have a guest, and I realised I made a mistake, and somebody did call me out for this, but I forgot to introduce you before we jumped to the plot of what the topic is today. So, introduce yourself. What's your name?
I'm Jessica. I'm actually an environmentalist activist.
Yes.
And I know a lot about sharks and kind of, their world because I've done, programs with the sea life in Sydney, so I'm kind of all about the ocean life. Yeah,
so it's it means a lot to you, and you've obviously you know your stuff with it, and we'll soon see that when we get into the content we're covering today. But so it should be interesting. So now we know your name and a little bit more about you. We can in a bit dive into some more questions. I originally, since we're talking about sharks, I originally had all these cool things I was going to play, and I'll have to see if during the next talk break I can get a hold of them. But I had this grand idea. I made these sweepers, I turned them into songs, because I was going to make a great joke, and we all know I like to crack a joke if you've heard me on the radio before. But anyway, let's get into some of the content today. So basically, the question that came up for me is, if sharks aren't these dangerous killing creatures, why do the movies like Jaws and things depict it that way? If they're not actually trying to kill me.
Well, as you just mentioned, the movie Jaws, it was really famous in 1975. It was #1 best-selling motion picture. And after that film, the media saw how much money they can make off making great white sharks or any kind of shark scary and terrifying for people to watch on film, and thus continued the constant movie depiction of sharks being an eating monster to be afraid of. So actually, 62% of Australians think the media has a role to play in the message we see around sharks. So Jaws obviously held a big role in how we view sharks today. So we see it through many other movies that are made recently in the past decade after Jaws. Movies, like The Shallows, 47 Meters Down, The Reef, and so on. And after the 1975 movie of Jaws and its continuous box office sequels, sharks were fished and hunted continuously due to the movie's misguided advertisement of it.
Right, so so it seems like basically what I was thinking by that is that if they made a movie of a shark, just going about its life, having fun, eating krill, it probably wouldn't be as exciting of a film. Is that what you're trying to get at there?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm sure people like to see a bit of action sometimes, which I guess is what led to that misconception. So thanks for clarifying that up for us here. We're going to get back into some more music. The Bangles' Maniac Monday. Why are we playing songs that are days of the week?
I think that it's just good to remind ourselves so that we remember that SWA is on that Friday.
Friday and Monday and Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday's the best day though because I'm here. I'm really joking. Anyway, the Bangles Maniac Monday. We're going to hear right now on SWA 999, Sydney's West. Live it up, mental as anything. 20 minutes past 6. You're listening to the Upbeat Muskrats on SWA 999, Sydney's West. Once again, if you are just joining, we are talking about sharks today. I've got a guest here in the studio, Jessica.
Hello.
And just quickly, I was going to say, again, I wouldn't have to do all this constant reminding of, we're talking about sharks if I remembered my things that I was going to have that would give the context and it would sound cool, but no, I forgot them, so that's a shame, but at least I didn't forget something important like my elbow or my legs, right? Yep. Anyway, so I've got another question for you here.
Yep.
So, as you've said, and I've said many times, we now know sharks aren't just out to kill us all, but then, what did cause the 488 shark attacks across Australia since 1988?
So that's actually a really good question. I have a lot of people asking me the same thing. But luckily, there is a very simple answer to this, and it's called overfishing. So 17.5% of Australian fish are overfished, even though most of the oceanic fish are endangered.
Right.
Now, you may be thinking, what does this have to do with shark attacks?
Of course
fishing?
I'm thinking that. What does that have to do with shark attacks, Jessica?
Well, most sharks consume fish and crustaceans. So the larger sharks prey on dolphins and seals and sea lions and porpoises, which actually eat the fish that we are taking from the ocean. This causes not only sharks, but other animals who feed on these creatures to swim further into shore seeking food. Sharks mistake humans for seals or dolphins and take a bite, then realizing we are not, the tasty porpoises they are looking for. Hence the 488 shark attacks and not shark murders.
What are the purposes of those porpoises? Anyway, so that's a fair point, because when I did actually research that there was 488 shark attacks across Australia since 1988, I did notice that actually only 47 of those were listed to be fatal, which when you translate it means only less than 9% of all shark attacks since back in 1988 have actually caused death.
Yeah. Which
is a pretty impressive number, considering, the medical attention we have these days where people can lose limbs and still live.
Exactly.
But yeah. So I guess the main thing you're saying is, so overfishing would mean catching too many of a fish so there's not enough to go around for the other animals to eat?
Exactly.
Right, so yeah, it makes sense. And the next question here, so it seems like the sharks, aren't going to kill me just every time I swim in the ocean, and they're not, that bad. So I can swim in the ocean with a bit of peace of mind now, but what would be a more reasonable way to explain their behaviour?
So one of the main things you and I as humans, as Homo sapiens, have to remember that they're...
I'm not a human.
No, you're an alien. All of us aliens have to remember that we're actually swimming in the ocean. So imagine someone came into your house and, what would you do? Be happy about it, just intruding into your home? So sharks feel the same way, obviously. But this doesn't mean we can't go swimming on the beach and just have a nice day in the water, obviously. But we should still all recognise the dangers of swimming with other aquatic animals.
Because they welcome us into their homes.
Yeah, 100%. I just welcome burglars into my home every day.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
But you're not a shark, right?
No, I'm not a shark.
Okay.
Unfortunately. But, sharks aren't even the top 5 things I'd worry about when going to the beach. There are jellyfish stings, there are rips and drowning and stingrays. So those things are more likely to harm humans than a shark would. So some advice for people who are wanting to swim in the ocean and avoid sharks: don't swim in the early mornings or late evenings, because people might not know this, but those are most likely times that sharks will be around. Don't swim alone, because, it's always good to stay in a group, especially if you are not a strong swimmer, but
and less
sharks...
less lonely too.
Yes, it is less lonely to be swimming in a group.
That's why I've got guests here today.
Yeah, we can swim together, stay together to avoid the sharks. The sharks are less likely to attack you if you are in a group. Also, stay close to the shoreline and away from the sandbars, because those are the areas that sharks, like to hang out. That's their little hangout spot. You don't want someone invading their hangout spot.
Right. That's comforting. I think I've been to a sandbar before.
They sell good drinks.
Sorry?
They sell good drinks. The sandbars. They sell good drinks.
Good one. You should run the comedy show here. That's some great information. Thanks for sharing that. But we are going to get into some more music. And, we like sharks here, but we also like birds. So let's hear from the eels, which I think are an aquatic animal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the show name, Upbeat Muskrats, that's also an aquatic animal, an upbeat, a muskrat. I'm the upbeat version of the muskrat, but
Yes.
an amphibious rat, if you're wondering what that. And it is the year of the rat, so it's my year to be around. All right, eels are like birds. You're on SWA 999, Sydney's West, 25 minutes past 6. Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours, Stevie Wonder, on SWA 9, 30 minutes past 6. Again, I'm the upbeat muskrat of SWA, I guess. And, yes, we are here and we're playing different music to what I normally would. I realised I haven't even mentioned throughout the whole show. Well, I've mentioned I have a guest, but I've picked an entirely different playlist today. So normally I play sort of like more alternate funky music like Wolfpack or names that you don't hear on other stations or, anywhere really, because they're a lot smaller. And, smaller names, but good music is what I normally play. But today we're playing just all sorts of music anyway. So I've got my guest here, Jessica, to talk about sharks, of course. And when I find out where we're up to, yes, here we are. So what I was going to ask you is that, so it seems like sharks are not going to kill me, but if the oceans are being polluted and ocean life is struggling overall, and, well, does this apply to sharks too, and what can humans do to protect them as a species of the ocean?
Yeah, so unfortunately it does apply to sharks as it applies to all living creatures in the oceans, and they're all suffering heavily due to pollution created by humans. So species are becoming extinct and entire ecosystems are suffering because of toxic waste being poured into our oceans. Pollution doesn't always, come into the oils that we drop in the ocean. It also comes in substances like discarded fish nets or fishing lines, hooks and other plastics. So all of these things can be caught on sharks and consumed by them, causing serious injury or death. So sharks rarely kill humans and we kill millions a year, which is quite ironic considering what we're talking about today. In terms of preventing our pollution towards the life in the ocean, we can stop, using and dumping fishing equipment, as well as other plastic waste that continues to destroy the ecosystems in the ocean. And remembering to not leave your lunch wrapping on the beach or picking up rubbish that you see around you can be a very easy thing to do to prevent a massive problem.
Absolutely. And today, me and my auntie went boating, and we always try to, whenever we see a bit of plastic, over by the boat ramp or whatever, we always try to pick it up and do the right thing and put it in the garbage where it belongs. And even when we're in dirty waters, we try to empty out if we go past a plastic bottle. I mean, someone's got to sort it out. So
yeah.
And we don't want that to be the fish, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely help out whenever you can by picking up rubbish that doesn't belong where it is. So that's what you're trying to get at there, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly.
And if more people do that, then hopefully our sharks will be more abundant. And
yes, hopefully.
I think there's sharks in Sydney Harbour. Like, what's it called? Like, near the Opera House and that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you ever seen one there?
I haven't myself.
You haven't? Okay, right. I swear, imagine, I think I've seen a video once of a shark there. It wasn't doing anything, though. It was just kind of swimming around, which I think is what you're trying to get at. That's actually what they do, rather than...
Yeah, they're just looking for food, relaxing every day, just like you and me.
Yeah, and I've also heard that, generally, we are not the type of things that sharks would eat, right?
Exactly. We're actually nowhere near what sharks are looking for.
Yeah.
They really actually don't like the way we taste.
Right. So that's like me eating vegetables.
Yes, quite right.
Right, but except, are we healthy for the shark?
I wouldn't say we are necessarily healthy for the
So
shark.
maybe it's not quite the same.
Yeah, it's not.
Anyway, so what you're getting at is sharks are not man-eaters, but Daryl Hall and John Oates are man-eaters, so we're going to hear their song now. Daryl Hall and John Oates, I actually haven't heard of them, but I've probably been living under a rock. Man-eater, as we get to some more things on SWA 999, Sydney's West. Yeah, do you see what I did there?
Yep.
Shark Attack?
Shark Attack,
Yep,
yeah.
Shark Attack on SWA 999, Sydney's West. It's 19 minutes to 7, which means we don't have all that long left for today's show, very sadly. But there's still more content to be covered, so don't go anywhere. But Split Ends Shark Attack that was, and I would, it was good to throw that in there, but I can't take the credit. I didn't come up with that. In fact, that actually went out, well, the person who suggested I add that song in today's show was another presenter here at SWA who, you know, I was talking to before the OB last Saturday started on Australia Day. And basically, he suggested, I told him I was doing a shark-themed show this week, and he's like, oh, you got to play some shark songs. And it's Max from Double X After Dark on Tuesday nights. I think Tuesday, yeah, it would be Tuesday nights, 9 to 10. And I hope that's the right time, because otherwise you'll be not listening to him. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the right time. Anyway, away from that, because that's not what we're here for today. We're here for sharks, and not shark attacks, because, I mean, the walls are blue, but there's no sharks in here.
Sharks here.
No sharks other than me.
Yeah, that's right.
So basically, I've seen some videos of scuba divers online, and they've kind of become friends with sharks.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, hold up. How does someone become friends with a shark? Is that possible? Or, like, are they real? Is that...
Yeah. So, those videos, very real. They, do exist, and people do pet sharks. So one of the most popular shark conservationists that actually likes to pet sharks is Jim Abernathy, who actually saves sharks from hooks lines, as we were talking about before, the pollution in the ocean.
Yeah.
And he believes that, the sharks have a bond with him now that he's saved them. But I wouldn't recommend going out into the ocean and petting a shark for yourself for obvious reasons.
Oh, come on, I've already booked the ticket.
Yes. Of course you can go to places and swim with sharks, but petting them is probably out of the question, especially in the wild. I wouldn't pet a shark if I saw one.
No.
These people are professionally trained, and they kind of know what they're doing. I think they wouldn't just go around petting sharks. So. I hope they know what they're doing.
Hey, is this shark friendly? Oh no, that one's not.
They have signs too.
That
saying
one's
they're
not
shark
friendly. That one ate Bruce.
Yeah,
exactly.
So in terms of making friends with sharks, I would not say that is like owning a dog or a pet or anything.
Definitely not.
So, but the videos are quite great, and the scuba divers who do pet sharks are very well trained and do understand the risks.
Yeah, and they obviously understand how sharks are wired in their behavior, and they know what to do and how to approach them, I guess.
Exactly.
Which I don't, so I'll stay away.
Good idea.
So I was also going to say, you mentioned that it's not like owning a dog. Obviously you're not going to teach your shark to roll over and sit down or shake. Imagine that, shaking your shark's fin.
No, I don't think that would be possible with the shark.
Probably not. I mean, we might get there eventually when, humans and sharks form a proper bond. But I think that's probably just going to stay within the
ocean for now.
Or within the films of Marvel.
Yes.
But yeah, that also made me think it's yes, it must be, well, it makes sense that you say that, because I remember watching a video a while ago about people that domesticated foxes. And they stressed in the video that people think when they come to see the domesticated foxes that they're dogs, and they can just pat it and be like, oh, puppy. But obviously they're not dogs, they're domesticated foxes.
Exactly.
So you're not going to be sleeping with it you're not going to be snuggling with it in your sheets. But yeah, so no. So yeah, anyway, the next question is, do you have anything else that people should know about sharks?
Well, since we're talking about how they're not like dogs, I really want to reiterate with the audience.
Iterate?
Yeah, exactly.
That'll do.
That sharks are actually still dangerous, and they can still attack, and they are still harmful.
No, they can't.
No, it's just not possible.
No.
Like anything, your household dog is still possible for it to attack you.
Well, true.
But the likelihood of it happening is very, very low. It's about 1 in 3.7 million. And sharks are very beautiful creatures that grace our waters, and we shouldn't be harming them or taking away their food source simply because we're afraid of what they might do to us. So approximately 80% of sharks actually are within the ray and skate families, which means they just kind of live on the ocean floor and do nothing really except for eat and hang around. And a lot of shark attacks actually are people just stepping on a poor wobbegong and it being, a bit upset about that. I wouldn't like someone stepping on my face either.
On a pawabba what?
On a wobbegong. It's a type of ray shark that sits on the ocean floor.
Right, okay. But, so shallow ocean floors, if we can step on it.
If but some sharks hang out in shallow waters and
Fun.
reefs and things like that. So sometimes
And
people
then-
accidentally step on
Right,
them.
so would it bite you, or would its fin just be so sharp that it would hurt you?
No, it would bite you because you
okay.
stepped on its face.
You're-
Like I said, I probably wouldn't want someone stepping on my face while I'm sleeping.
I'd probably bite you too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, just before we wrap up, let's hear from the Arctic monkeys because, we talked enough about sharks, so monkeys time, muskrats time. What else do we have? Arctic monkeys. Do I want to know? Upbeat muskrats, SWAR 999, Sydney's West.
9 Sydney's West.
Upbeat muskrats on SWAR 999. Song in the background now is Living End, West and Riot as we have to say goodbye. So thanks for coming along, Jess.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Great to hear about those sharks and exciting things like that. But for now, I will see you back next week, same time here at SWAR 999. It's the Upbeat Muskrats. See you later.
There's a kid who was born and was raised in the West.